Well, let's now speak to Jeffrey Miller, who's a political analyst with the Democracy Project. He's joining us live from Dundee. Thank you so much for being with us. So this resignation has come as a surprise. Jacinda Ardern said a good leader knows when it's time to go. Was it really time for her to go? What do you think's played a part in this decision?
Hello to you from New Zealand. Yes, I think it really was time to go for Jacinda Ardern. You know, she talked a lot about how she was simply burned out. She had no energy left in the tanks, what she said today. But also her party's popularity had really gone downhill in a big way over the last year. Her party, the Labour Party, won 50% of the vote in elections back just in October 2020, and the party's now polling in the low 30s. And it was clear that Jacinda Ardern had gone from being a net asset to the party by far to actually a liability. So I think all of these reasons put together have contributed to her decision to resign today.
But she was extremely popular on the world stage, Jeffrey. And of course, we all recall her first appearance at the UN General Assembly in 2018. What do you think will be her defining legacy?
I think in the end it does come down to her response to the Christchurch mosque attacks back in 2019. Her compassion, the response she showed to that, those words, "they are us," is how she described the victims of the attack, the 51 victims of that tragedy, that brutal terrorist attack in Christchurch in New Zealand back in March 2019. And she got New Zealand out of what could have been a very sticky situation, a very dangerous situation. It was just unprecedented in New Zealand history to have this kind of terrorist attack. And it was largely Jacinda Ardern's personal compassion, her personal reaction, her emotional response to that tragedy that got New Zealand out of jail, as it were. And she used that reputation for good. And I think she was never content to rest on her laurels. She, out of that Christchurch tragedy, she started the Christchurch Call initiative with French President Emmanuel Macron to remove terrorist material and violent extremist material from the internet. And that initiative has been wildly successful. It's got 120 signatories. Many countries have signed up to that now. And I think it speaks to a consensus-building politics and a consensus-building style of foreign policy.
Right. Her foreign popularity, certainly a very high one, but her popularity in New Zealand on the decline, as you've said. What was she unable to achieve as Prime Minister of New Zealand?
I think just as time went on, and particularly coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic, New Zealand became polarised, like other countries, have become. And I think she found it difficult to square the circle in the end. She was at an absolute high point back in 2020 when the Labour Party won an absolute majority, which was unprecedented under New Zealand's system of proportional representation. And it really was going to be downhill from that point, looking back. And, a lot of domestic issues, divisive issues in New Zealand that she had to deal with. So that's in the end her legacy.
Jeffrey, let me ask you quickly, attention now turning to Labour's leadership and the party's caucus vote on Sunday. Is there an obvious successor to Jacinda Ardern?
The obvious successor is the Police Minister, Chris Hipkins. He was the COVID-19 response minister and developed a real reputation for competence. But the wild card could be Kiri Allen, who is a Maori woman who's the Minister of Justice, and she's quite a high flyer. And that would be the exciting option for the caucus to choose.
Jeffrey, thank you so much for talking to us. Jeffrey Miller is a political analyst joining us there from New Zealand.